Alright, so here we are again. David says he's going to start a video schedule. He doesn't. Then, all of a sudden, video out of nowhere after 3 or so months. I'm pretty sure it's 3 or so months. Need to check back on that. But anyways, what it was this time around, no excuses here. I don't press out excuses. I just say what happened. I basically got a little off the schedule, got a little off the deep end, and didn't do too well in my last quarter of high school. Not high school. Jeez. I may need another latte. But that's imperative. What more or less is going on is that I have been working on other projects. For example, after getting an FPV drone, which, by the way, crashed a few times, but a few days ago, fatally crashed. And if you're wondering, Nazgul 5, pretty solid. It only broke two arms, and one soldering connection. Not the biggest deal. I'm working on repairing it, but I've put my head into a few other projects, one of which is an e-bike, which I completed, I made. It was great. It goes like 21 miles an hour. I'm not really apt to do that much since I had to remove the front brakes, since it was a hub motor. It wasn't something that went by the pedals and hooked onto your chain, so you could actually change gears so that the motor would actually engage different gears. That would be far more efficient, but I opted for the easier installation route of going with a hub motor. But I powered it with two used 9-bot scooter batteries, kind of like Lime scooter batteries. And this brought me on to a tangent I went on back when. And to give you a very quick story and really quick context, I go off on these weird, crazy project tangents as I need something to do that isn't sitting around playing video games. I've started to just not play much in the way of video games at all. It's to the point where it gives me no satisfaction. What does give me satisfaction is making a bike that a friend of mine sees and goes, hey, how do I do that? And it gives me a lot of satisfaction. In regards to that, I like jumping on small projects. I was originally going on an engineering path, but more or less, I realized it wasn't as hands-on as I think, and I kept it as more of a side hobby for many reasons. As I did that, I switched over to business administration as degree, and concentration of which in that field I haven't quite decided on yet. But smaller projects are a lot more fun for me. In terms of building the e-bike, it's the first project that I had that I really followed through with and completed to a really good deal of workmanship. It's still Frankensteined. It works. It's not elegant, but it absolutely works and will still last a long time. So I rode an absolute maker's high, I guess you could say, from doing that. And by doing that, I was like, smaller projects seem to be more my thing. I've tinkered around with, for example, keyboards, which I'm still going to do. I decided I'm still going to keep that a small theme of the channel. But for right now, it's just going to be tech and exploration of such. One pretty good concept in most things is that success is found in parallels. As in, if you're a programmer and you also work, if you want to be a programmer or have some programming knowledge and you go to, for example, a financial field, for example, you find in that firm that people are doing a lot of repetitive tasks and things like that that really, really should be automated but aren't. It's a part of workplace culture. You know, there's lots of emails flying back and forth about simple things that could be just handled by a very simple program. You make that program, you show it, and everybody goes, whoa, it's pretty nice. They implement it, it gets secured, it gets upgraded to spec of what your company would need. And then you wonder, maybe I can do some financial analytics with an application like this. That's where parallels are made. Well, for me, I'm really good with batteries now, more than ever. I'm decent with video gear. Video editing is still really where I'm working on. I'm actually been following a series of DaVinci tutorials from multiple people, not flashy edits or whatever like that, but getting the basics down. So if I need to do something from a tutorial, I get the basic foundations up so that when I go to do something like an effect or color grading, I can also tweak it in other ways to make it way better that tutorials otherwise don't talk about. And I can find little things to improve. The keyboard video, of course, was a wild success. 2,000 views. Your boy is astounded. Your boy is just astounded that even worked. And I'm like, great. I even got a question asking what keycaps there were. But it was great because somebody actually asked a question and I was able to answer them with a straightforward answer, and they got what they were looking for. And in that matter, I'm like, I like helping people and at the same time doing things for people that I know how to do. For example, with video editing, I've edited for a few friends very sporadically until now, which I'm actually being on the way to becoming a permanent channel editor for someone who is kind of busy at the moment and finishing up his 2-year training program for school. And after he's done with that, he's going to work and he's going to have a lot more time to record. But editing also takes an extremely long time. And for him, that would be a drain. So might as well have someone else get a $2 Google Drive subscription fee for the 100 gigabyte, save the video somewhere else, and do other things like that. So I likely will be making videos on these things connected together. Parallels. Success is found in parallels. I was working with drones, and the thing about the little batteries, and in fact, after that fatal crash, one of these leaked, is that these will only last, again, these are smaller batteries, 1,500 milliamp hours, or 1.5 amp hours, which means you can only draw 1.5 amps out of these for an hour. That's about, on a 14.8 volt battery, 4S, that's only not even 20 watts. So that's not much. And with a drone, you can regularly pull in excess of 50, 60 amps because those motors are hungry and they will gladly take power and throw your drone around. And of course, these last only 4 or 5 minutes doing that. 5 really stretching it. 3 is when I could start coming down and land. And I realized I was actually landing directly at storage voltage, which was great. Any less than that, I started to get a little antsy because that's generally when the voltage starts really dipping. Because very quick aside on lithium batteries is the curve of the voltage as you're discharging looks like this. High, dip in voltage, steady drop, and then exponential drop. And because of that, once you get past that steady drop and exponentially decrease, you basically lose power to the motors. It starts decreasing and you're like, oh, I'm falling out of the sky now. I can't jump up. But yeah, so I needed to devise a way to charge batteries while I was over there. So what I did is I got 2 or 3 of these batteries, some of which have been destroyed. I had some fun with them. I brought a portable charging setup to my RC meets, which often just wind up being 2 people. Not a very big deal. But it wound up just being that having this battery with me connected to my charger, I could have 3 batteries and I would have like only 10 to 15 minutes of downtime fully discharging the batteries. Not fully, but 80%, 95% charged to like 20% discharged. I could have 3 batteries cycling, and since my charger has 2 ports, I could charge things pretty fast at 1.5 amps. I could just do my normal charging, right? And start charging, and I would only be down for 10, 20 minutes every hour. So I was mostly in the air, and I could charge even faster if I wanted to be less down. And the thing is, the packs that I bought were from nickel, they're nickel metal hydride cells. So the older, bigger RC packs you've likely seen somewhere, those things have a weird set of characteristics. You don't charge them via a power supply. You can, but it's very hard to tell if they're charged. The charge detection is reached when it gets warm. Some chargers detect when it's warm. And B, when the voltage gets to a certain point after it's being charged, it'll drop by a few millivolts per cell in series. And that's really hard to detect. Lithium ion. I'm making a 36 volt pack right now. It's 500 amp hours to put along with my e-scooter batteries to make a modular power case. I may or may not be becoming Jehu Garcia here. I love the man. I love what he does. Go ahead, check out his channel up in the little icon there. And I'm thinking, lithium ion, you literally, since it's 42 volts is fully charged, I charged to 41.5. Set your power supply, literally 41.5 volts. Stick it there, stick an amperage you want to be in. Of course, you can go on to other videos for specifics. You plug it in, and it's constant amperage, because it'll draw a lot more when it's not charged. So it'll hold the amperage to whatever you set, and after it starts tapering off of that amperage, it'll switch to constant voltage. And so the amperage keeps going down until it stops receiving power and you're charged. It happens like almost automatically with very little circuitry needed. Nickel metal hydride is weird and complex. It just is, and it's horrible at holding power. Overnight, you can lose as much as 7 to 10% of your capacity. It's ridiculous, and I was getting tired of that. Because in the morning, I'd have to top up the cells before I go out. But that was what got me interested in that. I have a few other projects that are going on. But really, I'm working with batteries. My goal was to be able to maybe even host a LAN party in the middle of the field that I help maintain at a park. Just funny things, just to see what I can make them do. And for me, it benefits me because if I go out and do videos in somewhere remote, and I've mentioned before that I was in a car group, squirrel, I know, but they would need power because I wanted to do navigation on my laptop while I was there, scouting out routes, see if there's any problems or anything like that. Phone solves a hotspot problem. Your car can use a 12 volt inverter to make it 120 volts and plug in your laptop and charge it. But I really wanted to make a power case, a power pack. Like, I really wanted to actually make a dedicated device to really do this and even power my PC for a few hours just in case anything goes wrong. And I mean, when the power goes out, I could shut off my PC because it would be powered off and then plug in this thing in which it would run my computer for like 3 or 4 hours. Maybe 6 or 7 if I put the e-bike batteries in there. Because my computer doesn't draw over like 250 watts on average. And that's the whole setup. Everything plugged into a power strip. But how I would accomplish that is I'd have to get an uninterruptible power supply, which is basically a small battery within a power strip that will go beep, 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 beep whenever the power goes off, indicating you power's off and you're on backup. You then switch it over to the inverter on the case, which takes my 36 volts in this case, bumps up to 120, and will charge that battery. It'll stop beeping, and you'll wind up powering your computer and charging the little bit of that battery that you used in the UPS. And that's the way I would say, okay, I need to work on this project. There's a big power outage. My area has a lot of trees, and when it gets rainy season or snow season, which is becoming a lot more common and at least a little less severe, that can happen. It's not exactly something to worry about, but at the same time, it's like, I wonder if I can solve that problem. I wonder if I can do that. So I do it. So anyways, what's going on? That drone video batteries. Really, that's David for you. That is pretty much David. Wanted to do a little bit of car videography, but looks like that's going to have to wait because a lot of the groups I hang out with are just on the down low in terms of activity, etc. But anyways, the plan going forward. I will have to do a video every other week. This is something that I've thought long and hard over. And taking words from Bad Seed Tech in a 2021 podcast with, I think it was Keebs and Alex Odos and a few other people. Taking word from him, he took a look at his channel and went, all right, I'm working full time, but this is making up my income right now. I'm going to continue working with my income. But really, he found a plan and just said, all right, if I don't do this, this will not happen. This will not be a reality. And that's what I realized with my channel. A lot of the things that I'm stressing about and trying to figure out, I would basically figure out by just doing. By just making the good videos, making just content that I do best, and pushing forward with it. That's what I would have to do. And not doing that for a few months, it gets you really discouraged. And so that's why I have my DaVinci Resolve pulled up on my computer. That's why this video is going to be straight, just ripped into DaVinci Resolve so I can start this process. And of course, with about half an hour of B-roll footage. Trust me, this is something that I want to do, but by not pushing forward, your brain almost doesn't remember how good it is to just do something and be good at something. If you're struggling to find happiness in life, sure, go talk to a counselor. If you're sitting at home doing basically nothing, and by that I mean just sporadically just doing, okay, I'm going to go over here, here, here. Maybe I'll clean the house once or twice, but you're low on energy, etc. This isn't like stupid great advice, but if you're good at something and provide value to a community in whatever way possible, it's great. And I mean, in the context of, again, of Bad Seed Tech, because I heard this from him on that podcast, he said it was the best thing he did. More or less. He was the greatest feeling he ever got. So with that being said, I'm going to make a channel plan and really solidify. I literally have a 4 or 5 page document as to how I'm going to run my life for the next year, quarter or so. Because it's more than possible to do university and this, but you have to be coordinated. You have to say on these days of the week is when I work on stuff. Otherwise, if you go, okay, let's just do this day, it's not going to fall into place real well. It'll fall into place, but it'll be messed up. It'll be scraggly. And by not actively working to figure things out, it'll be hell. And which is, I've figured that out. If I don't just get down and work on stuff, later on, it becomes harder. Everyone eventually in school will realize this, or in any sort of thing where there's some type of pacing. If you're trying to do something, just at least start and just put your head down. Undistracted work. Get your brain used to not looking at something else, looking at a video while you're working on something. Just work. And if you want to use music, in the advice of Cal Newport, which always go check out his podcast, he's got some really interesting views, you can listen to a single playlist over and over and get your brain used to listening to that playlist, preferably non-lyrical, just because your brain, believe it or not, has very highly constructed neural networks that work with human conversation. And, a podcast or something like that where someone's talking, etc., just talking, your brain takes high priority with that. And yeah, I mean, just get focused on stuff. Really, it's different for everybody. Different people have different schedules. I get it. I mean, my schedule was shot. I've been working 36, 40 hours a week now that I'm done with school. I mean, it feels great because working at KFC for 4 years, it was only satisfying for the first few days in a department. And after that, it would wear off. When I went from Starbucks to the deli, oh my. It was... Oh. The deli was just not in a great place because they didn't have employees, they didn't have hours, and it just went downhill. And I eventually just saw I have no place here because this is not going to get any better. I can't make any good changes. This isn't owned on the individual level, so corporate oversees everything. Middle management is just struggling because they're getting hate from both corporate and the employees below them. It's a mess. And I mean, with a lot of corporate things, it can wind up being this way. Not that all are. But yeah, with that being said, I'm back and I'm here to stay. Obviously, keyboard content, and I really think it was specialized content, is what you guys like to see. Someone who's knowledgeable in a sector. For example, I built up a lot of keyboard knowledge for that video, and I also paced it well. Probably could have gone a little bit faster, but I was basically working on it to be informational. If you wanted to do that same thing, you easily could. It was also a keyboard that not many people had played around with in terms of actual modding videos, specifically like tutorials. Mine was a tutorial, but you could probably take it like that. Basically, what's been going on is I've been doing something and then going back and not doing anything. So I start to lose momentum on things. And if I stop losing momentum on things, you guys know how it goes. I stop. And that's not a good thing at all, because if I want to learn things and learn things fast, which is what's required in this industry and many others, you just need to learn fast and go. But with that note, the next video I'm not so sure what the next video is going to be on, but since I'm going to be making significant progress on the power case that holds a bunch of batteries and can run nearly two microwaves at once, I'm going to be working on that, and I think I might just do a vlog. I have a trip coming up with a few people, likely that I'll be able to do some vlogging on. Just light vlogging content, but specialized content for me is what I'll be doing. So without knowing the exact topic of the videos, I have a few in Notion lined up and ready for scripting. But I think it's better if you guys just find out next week. But alright, with that, see you all later. And see you next week.